How about you, Robin?
Oh yeah. Well, there wasn't any of that in my family. Like nobody cared to address sex or sexuality. There was no real sign of intimacy or anything between my parents. Nobody talked about it when I was growing up. I think my mother shoved some kind of book under my in my dresser at one point about a doctor talks to you about sex and sexuality or something, and she
Yeah.
never said a word about it. It was just there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's really weird.
Right?
And and that was just like an explanation of body parts, I think. But that was it. Like there was never any mention, you know. I always got the message from my mom, oh, you wouldn't know what love is. Why are you wearing that? It's too tight. It's too this, it's too that, and then, my experience with men as a pretty young adult was that they're always just trying to like grope at you and gawk at you, and I just hated it. I just hated it. And I just kind of like shrunk. I could feel myself like wanting to just shrink away from the whole scene. So that's kind of how it was when I was growing up.
Hmm.
There was nobody who was going to protect me or anything like that either. I didn't have like that passionate Italian father or anything. My father's kind of like more like, oh, I just like stand back and see what happens. So I don't know. I felt like I was pretty much on my own. Interestingly, though, like my friends were like friends. They were like we hung out as a pack. We didn't really date or anything like that. We were just like this group of great friends who all respected each other and loved each other. And um, if we were looking to do like any kind of like experience like that, you had to kind of like go outside of the friend group and pick people you didn't know because because you didn't want to mess things up with the friends. That was kind of like a taboo subject. It was kind of weird. So um yeah, I mean, I guess I was fortunate that I had those friends because they're still my friends now, but um there was none of that like intergroup dating or any of that because we wanted to keep the pressure off. We were all like, I don't know. I don't know why that was. I don't know how that was. It was just the way it kind of played out. I mean,
Like a
sometimes we
healthy.
talk about it, sometimes we laugh about it, but it wasn't really that much discussed, except like some of the guys were coming out as gay, and some of the women were like experimenting with different guys and different drugs and different things. But pretty much it wasn't really a thing. So until I was older, like when I got to college.
But that sounds like a healthy group of friends.
They were very healthy. I mean, it was really
Counselor.
healthy. It was
Fun.
really,
Like
I love
fun.
my friends. To this day, we still do Zoom calls together. And when we get together, it's like we're still all good friends and everything like that.
Because that's really cool. Like
Yeah.
in like yeah, like from my experience and what I hear most of the time, like in your teens and in your 20, when you're in your 20s, like obviously your friends play such an important role, and most of the time, like the group pressure and yeah, it's
Mhm.
it's not the best.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any of that. I had great friends. Great friends with no group pressure.
How is it for you, Shayla? Like growing up and with your friends and
You know what? Trying to think. I think I no. I think I knew two. friends before the time I was 18 that were having sex and were still well, no, one of them was Mormon. That's beside the point, but it's just like either way, teenagers are going to have sex. It doesn't matter what you try to do or what religion you try to put
Mm.
on them. They're going to experiment. And so I do remember asking a couple of those friends, like, hey, what's your experience? What was it like? Like, because it was still very, very hush hush, very controlled. And even though I had older sisters, not like I felt comfortable asking them about anything. But I did have like one older sister who's finally decided, like, okay, let's just have a talk. And most of this stuff I learned from my friends. So let me just tell you. And so she was trying to give me like what she could for the time, but again, for than me, not like she had a lot of knowledge and experience to share, but it was at least helpful enough. And then and in school, like when you're sometimes they'll have like sex education or in elementary school they had a thing for fifth and sixth grade girls who were show about your changing body and about this being the time of year that the time in your life when you start to get your periods. And I didn't realize at the time how shameful that topic in and of itself was to my mom because she refused to show up. I had to go by myself. I was so fucking pissed off and embarrassed. And I'm like, so much for someone helping me understand what's happening to my body. And then the next year, my mom decided that she was just gonna be conveniently out of town for for it. And I'm like, fine, here I am going again. But this time I sat with a friend who was like a year behind me and stuff. So I sat with her and her mom, and it was at least helpful having someone trying to, at least give me the right stuff or whatever. But yeah, I think there was just still so much embarrassment and shame around everything. Because you think, I don't know if all parents give their kids the sex talk. Mine happened when I was 17. I'm like, at this point, what
Better
the
late
fuck
than
are we
never.
even doing this for? I'm like, I've learned everything else from things that you did not want me to learn it from. So that's your own fault. um, but then, like, once I got married and was actually having sex, then it just kind of opened up. Like, I didn't care about talking about it. I was like, okay, I'll answer you, whatever. And I've told this story to Donna, or no, maybe it was Robin, but there was a friend that I had who's Mormon who had another Mormon friend getting married. And Mormons, when they go through the temple, they have to wear special magic white underwear. That's a crude way of explaining the concept of garments, but it's just an easy, fun way for us to kind of to know what we're talking about. So ugly, like white shirts got to cover you all the way down in your belly, and then like you have a pair of shorts to go past your knees. Oh, you just nothing romantic, nothing sexy about that. You just felt right? So anyway, so she had a friend who was getting married and had already like gotten her white garments and stuff and said, "Well, am I supposed to wear the lingerie over it?" And I was like horrified. I'm like, this poor woman, no one has told her that fuck everything else. This is time between you and your man. You get those fuckers off and you just wear whatever the hell you want.
Nice.
I was just like, no, more
Funny.
women need to know that this is okay. Like, you do not have to wear stuff that makes you feel so ugly.
And no one's gonna know.
No one's gonna know.
Oh god, that's so
But
funny.
yeah, just the different how so it was very, very close. Yeah. So my
Tell me
experience
this,
was like
Shayla.
very
I've got a
controlled.
question for you. I was talking to somebody who was from, well, actually, it was my stepmother, and she was from like this very ultra right wing religious sect. And she grew up down south, and they didn't believe in birth control, and they didn't. But what they did believe in, and they didn't believe in sex outside of marriage. But what they did, there was a lot of pressure for these young girls to get married early. harsh, so that seems like. Did you have that kind of pressure growing up?
So you okay, pressure to get married early and then you cut out. So what was your question?
Yeah, so did you have a lot of pressure to get married early so that you
Oh my
wouldn't?
God, yes.
Yeah.
It was like the people who were already engaged by the time before they had even graduated high school, it was like, "Oh my God, how did you even manage that?" Like it was almost like the sooner you got married, the more status elevation you had, which
Hmm.
is really, really weird. So typically, you would think give people a year or two graduating high school, getting into college before they make decisions. No, well, I mean, I met my husband when I was 19, but I turned 20 by the time we were engaged and then got married the next month. But absolutely, there was like this pressure that if you were unmarried before if you were unmarried and over the age of 25, you were kind of seen as dysfunctional in Mormonism dating and stuff like that, which was really weird. And so, like, all these guys are like, "Well, then I'm trying to get all these, younger chicks, like whatever." Um, and I was living on campus, my first year of college, and once you turn 18, you are kicked out of like the traditional like environment of church, and now you have to go to an environment filled with just single men and single women because they just want you to date and get married. So now you've entered the meat market where that's all you're looking at. You're just a piece of meat, and so that pissed me off because I had no choice. And so there's this guy that was trying to go date all the women that were in the same dorm that I was in. And he finds out that I'm in there and asks me out. And I'm like, fuck you, but whatever. Free meal, why not? I know my birds agree with me. No. And so I go out on a date with him, and he just keeps asking question after question, like he's evaluating me for whether or not I'm going to be marriage material for him. And I kid you not, it was specifics like, oh, well, you're going into nursing. Well, maybe you should go into massage because it'd be really nice to have you massage me after work or whatever the fuck. I'm just like, dude,
Oh my
what
God.
makes you so fucking special? You fucking entitled piece of shit. Like these are all the things spewing out of my head and my mouth, and I'm just like, fuck off. So anyway, at some point, like he finally hit a nerve, and I can't remember what I said to tell him to get him to, basically like we're done, like this is over. And so like he took me back to the dorm, and he's like, well, don't I get a hug or something? And I'm just like, "Fuck you." Like, I didn't even know. Well, I mean, okay, so I kinda gave him a half hug. It was just, like, kinda keeping myself as far away from him as I could, and I was just like, "Oh, fuck you." And I ran upstairs, ran down the hall to the other end of my room, and then all the other girls that were in the same, church, like, w ward with him and stuff like that were all flocking over to him like, "Oh, scroll," and I'm just like, "What the hell is anybody seeing this dude?" Like, what the fuck? So, anyway, needless to say, meat markets, oh my God. So, pressure to get married young, absolutely. And you're around all these skeezy guys and feel like you can't say no. I can't remember who I told, but there's this guy that I had like a really good friendly conversation with. And then as soon as he asked me out, all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, like this is a bad idea. And then, but I still felt pressured to go with him because he asked. He's Mormon. I'm Mormon. I'm supposed to follow through because someone's trying to date me and make me into their wife to do all these other things for them. Well, thank goodness measles broke out on campus because I was living on the dorm and they were like, no, no, you gotta leave. And I was like, hallelujah, that got me out of that fucking date. And I never saw that guy. But it's just like sometimes you don't know why you have a bad reaction to somebody. And how many times do we get the message? It's okay. Listen to your body. Your body is trying to tell you something, it's trying to warn you. And then that was not the message I got from other people. They were like, well, it's not like he asked you to marry him. It's just one date. Oh, okay. So are both men and women's comfort level going on a date does not matter then in that context. I just like it when I can kick them to the curb and tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, but in retrospect, the pressure's on them too.
It is.
You know, I mean, you can see kind of like why they feel like they've got to do that.
Yeah, and that's really sad too. I mean, the just the idea that if you are 25 and unmarried, you are an uncontributing member of society.
Yeah.
Like that's just fucked up.
Well, when you consider that the rest of the world doesn't even feel like they need to get married until they're like pushing 35 or 40, and then like they all want to get married. All the women want to get married then because they feel like they're not going to be able to get pregnant after that. If they want a family, they've got to get married. So then there's that biological clock thing and the pressure. The pressure is on. But, you know, like most people, you know, want to get educated, want to have a career, want to do something in between the time when they're, like 18 and 30, 35, and that whole Mormon pressure to get married that takes a lot of that away, and now you're tied to kids and married and everything else. That's tough.
So it's hilarious. Let's see, we were in that religion for close to 9 years, and we were the only ones that didn't have children, which is unheard of. It's like a no. If you're married for at least 2 to 4 years, you better have children. And it was just like, no, fuck off. Quit asking if I'm having miscarriages, fuckers. Like none of your damn business. And
Yeah.
again, it's like the this over enmeshment, like oversharing, like people feel like they're entitled to know the details of your life, especially when it comes to having children and everything, which is, yeah, it's private. It's hard. It's
Mm.
challenging. Not everybody's journey is easy, peachy, and they want to share about it.
No, it's like you're part of the community. You had like you owe them your private life, something like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a cult. It's definitely a cult, you know?
Mhm.
That's the only way you can look at that.
Mhm.
Ugh. Like, why does anybody owe their private life to anyone?
Well, I just want to thank everybody. I am going to be leaving, and I enjoyed the conversation. And
Cool. Thanks,
yeah,
John.
and I'll be in touch with everybody. Thank you for letting me join today.
Thanks for coming, Donna.
Oh, very welcome. Thank you for showing up, Donna. Do you have any last words of joy or wisdom?
Find joy in everything you do, in the moment, out of the moment, and when you're triggered, you know what to do.
Got
Turn it
it.
around, baby, and be you. I promise.
Especially during sex.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go practice right now. That's why I gotta go. No, just try out some of our new
Thanks.
techniques. No, just
There
kidding.
you go.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thanks for
Nice.
coming, Donna.
Roman, what's the culture like for you? Like, do you feel pressured to, find someone and marry them by a certain stage in your life?
That's a good question. Yeah. So I would from society, I would say no in general, because I think Switzerland is quite open in that regard. In my in my experience, especially like Geneva, where I live, it's a big city, so yeah, it's quite open. But yeah, from my family, yes, a bit. Yes, definitely. Even if it's not said, like between the lines, yes.
Hmm.
And but yeah, also here, like it's you have to do what's right for you. Point. And you don't owe nobody an explanation for your life choices and for your lives.
That is pretty cool. That it's respected that, hey, it's your private life.
Mm.
It's, you don't have to tell anybody your business. You can pretty much do what you want. Like, as long as you're doing it for you is kind of the message I'm getting. So it's like a healthier message and perspective and how to live your life in general. It sounds like that can be applied to, the sexuality.
Yeah. Well, in the States, it's a lot like that, except from a cultural or religious concept, and people have all different backgrounds. So it just depends on where you are, I think.
Is it also like that in the States? Like it's a big difference between cities and countryside?
No, I think it's a big difference between people in different religions and
Mm.
different cultural backgrounds,
Okay.
Yeah, that seems to
different
be the
ethnic
driving
backgrounds,
force.
it seems like. But in general, if you're in a city, there's, you can do your own thing. If you're in a small town, you can do your own thing. People aren't really going to judge you for it. Unless you're in a church that's going to judge you or a family that's going to judge you. Or a culture or an ethnic group or something that's going to judge you.
Mm.
I was interested that, well, my mother always like discouraged any talk about sex or sexuality or any other thing, and she wasn't a big family person. I was getting all this shit after a while because she didn't have a grandchild.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
sensed this like real disapproval. And I was like, where is that coming from? But I guess as she was getting older, she was seeing that her friends had grandchildren and they were really enjoying that. And maybe she resented that I wasn't contributing to like the family life or the continuation of family, and that my brother wasn't going there either. So it's kind of the end of the line. But it was kind of strange that, like, out of nowhere, this was coming up. I thought, but that's my mother unique unto herself.
Yeah, but that's like I like of course you can understand like their wish to have grandchildren, but
Mm.
still like it's not you don't, or let's put it generally, like we don't owe them grandchildren.
Right.
Like, come on. Like
Mm. Yeah. And when I was growing up, it was certainly like you don't want to have more than two children because the world is already overpopulated. You don't want to contribute to overpopulation. You don't want to, and why do you need to have a big family? It's not financially responsible and all this other stuff. I always got that message, you know. Whereas my friends who were growing up as Catholic, they were supposed to have as many kids as possible. So it was always interesting.
they were taught that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, there's another thing that I wanted to talk about. Like, when Chela, you were explaining you're talking about your date, and it's like the guy at the end, he was like hoping something, and he was almost like, hey, I did all this, now don't I deserve, like,
Yeah. Well,
you know
Yep.
yeah.
and hey, come on, that's like really, that's also like something that I wanted to mention today. Like we need a healthier communication and approach to dating, in the sense of, it's not, we as men, we are not being nice in order to be rewarded in the end by sex. So come on.
Mm.
That's
Thank you for
Thank you.
clarifying that,
Yes, that's good. I
because
like that.
that was not the message I ever got. Oh my
Because
god.
that's not always the message that we get. Yeah, it's always like, well, yeah, especially like if the guy pays for something or something, well, what do you owe him? It's like this weird, like sex is a commodity kind of thing, and an expectation
Right?
that
Oh God, I got an
maybe
even better
shouldn't be
story
there.
for
It's
you
maybe
then.
like I just wanted to go out with you and get to know you a little bit, or maybe,
Yeah, but it's how we are conditioned, and it's like it's almost like I don't know, if you're if you're a dog and you do well, and then you get a reward at the end, you know? Like, no,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
like
that's interesting.
the message that I want to get pass through today is also like, we as men don't just do it for fun, because we want that connection as well. We want that intimacy and that, so don't, of course, yes, of course, enjoy sex and get to know each other and have pleasure, of course, but it shouldn't be the end goal, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't be the end goal. And yeah, it all also keeps like almost like a mother-son relationship, like in the aspect of, I did well and now I get a reward.
That's
That's
a
an interesting
fascinating way of
perspective.
looking at it. Wow.
Um, and then you're talking about sex not being the end goal, and I think in a normal, in a healthy environment, you would have the choice of whether or not to have sex before marriage. So it's being told you can't have sex until you're married. And so that's all what dating becomes, is like, I want to get to the finish line, which is sex, and the only way to have sex is to find someone likable enough, get along with enough so that I can make that happen. And then I see women in those marriages who are fucking miserable, and yeah.
Mm.
So thank you for pointing that out. That was needed.
You know, Roman, to your point, I feel like men don't get a lot of credit. I feel like men deserve a lot more credit. I feel like men are not this stereotype that they're made out to be, that I feel like they make themselves out to be, that I feel like women go along with this whole stereotype, or maybe women believe that. I just think there's so much more to men, and that there's so much more humanness and humanity that can come out of the whole situation, and it's not about getting something or
Mm.
being all that, or like all this preconditioned stuff. I just want to like take it and throw it out the window because it's also wrong, and it does everybody such a disservice, and it makes me mad. It makes me sad too, because I just want to give people more credit than that.
Oh, thanks. That's a nice like thought and uh, signal out of the world. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And yeah, we're just, the way I see it is just I don't know, but it starts in the preteens, like we're conditioned. So, and all this, let's call it toxic masculinity, comes in,
Mm.
and it's almost like a cloth, or like something that's in your energy, and that like glorifies your thoughts as well. And I think now, at that point where we are, it's about reconnecting to our true essence, and yeah, to
Mm.
feelings, and not about all this blurry shit that we've been taught. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
So the next question that comes to my mind is, who perpetuates this crap? Who perpetuates this myth, and why? Because it doesn't serve anybody.
That's a good question. I think it's just like the conditioning, the society, patriarchy. But like I have, what's really admirable is that the younger generation, they're like the ones that are now in their pre-teens or even younger. Like they don't seem to be in that stuff as deep as we used to be. So that's really cool. That's a really big change.
Yeah, well, it seems like maybe there's hope with like some of the gender redefinition, gender fluidity, gender lack of normalization, and like the recognition that there's sort of a spectrum there. Seems a little bit hopeful to me. But at the same time, I see people playing out stereotypes along those lines too. It's like, why do you need to change your whole gender identity? Why can't you just be yourself if you feel a certain way? Why, I mean, if you want to dress a certain way, or whatever it is, or you want to feel something a certain way, why can't you just do that as the gender that you are? Why can't you just be what you were born as, and appreciate the hell out of that, and appreciate that it can take different forms and it can look different in different people. I feel like sometimes it goes to an extreme that it doesn't need to go to, because if people could just be themselves, they would be so much happier in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. But now the question is, how do people get to be themselves?
They have to find that inner strength and allow it. They have to just allow it. And find a way to ditch the cultural conditioning.
Yeah.
To really know and understand who they are. Wouldn't that be lovely? And then it would be really nice if we could all grow up without trauma and abuse and stuff like that. But I guess that doesn't really happen in any culture. So
I think we're getting there, but it's going to take some time for sure. But
yeah.
definitely going into the right direction.
Well, because I thought from everything that I've been hearing and just kind of putting together, it's the feminine is not given, it has not been given the equal opportunity to stand to show what's really capable when you have both, but in harmony and working together.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the violence and the rape and all this other trauma comes because there is not that feminine energy that it's allowed to nurture, and allows for emotions and expression. And whereas, like, it patriarchy just feels so rigid and so controlling. And it's like, you have no, it can be the container to kind of set things up, but then the feminine is what dances inside the container. It's like all those fine details. It's like it sets the scene, it creates the experience. And when you don't have that, um, and even like even pleasure can be seen as kind of like a feminine energy aspect. And when that is taken away from you, oh my God, like, yeah, look at what's happening. I mean, religion's teaching that pleasure is bad, or society teaching that pleasure is bad. You know what, even contorting yourself to meet the standards of beauty, even the things that you're trying to do, like it just doesn't, yeah, it doesn't work. You have to be
Yeah.
of both.
That is such a good point, Shayla, because yeah, if we can all recognize that feminine side, and for men and for women, that feminine side is in all of us, and if we can understand that and recognize it, I think a lot of the healing of the culture and the society, and there would be such a shift for everyone. I think that would be amazing. I think that is totally what is lacking.
Yeah, totally, totally. Thanks for bringing that up, Shayla. That's totally what it's lacking, but like it almost sounded like I don't think there's like an energy to blame here. Like there's no, it's just now the question is why can't the feminine energy in both women and men like fully flow? It's because it doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
And why doesn't it feel safe? Because there's not enough healthy masculine energy yet on the planet. And that's where our work come in, and we need to reconnect with our essence and with our healthy masculine energy.
Can you really feel safe with someone if you don't trust them?
No, I don't.
Absolutely not.
No, I don't think so.
How can you? By definition, right? Why would you?
Why would you?
Kind of in the,
why did you ask that? Like, what was your thoughts around the question?
Yeah, so it was just more thinking in so if you're in danger, okay, let's just say I'll use myself. So woman with the history of sexual violence from men, hates men, doesn't want to ask them for help for anything, right? So I might tend to go find a woman, except hey, maybe there's no one around and there's a man that I can ask for help because he is at least less creepy than the other person who's like running behind me, stalking me, or whatever the hell. So it's like, okay, don't know this person, still don't necessarily trust men. However, it might be my best bet to like go find someone and ask for help than, let some skis ball do whatever the hell he's trying to, track me down for. So in that scenario, I need to find safety, and in order for me to find safety, I have to take a risk of trusting someone else in that moment and hoping like things will be okay. So it was more of like so even like in history when there have been maybe like rough soldiers where kids and women might have been afraid of them in the sense of like what they had seen like that person experience in combat and everything. Yeah, that soldier is never going to hurt them. It's just what they represent to the women and children who are needing that help to get to safety. So it's kind of it's like this dichotomy of like, can you really fully feel safe unless you trust, and how much trust you need to have?
You know what comes to my mind with that, Shayla? Is that in the asking, you're presenting a vulnerability. And when you present with vulnerability, the other person, you're going to touch the other person's humanity. And probably like 95% of the time, they're going to come through as being trustworthy because you have taken that risk and trusted them. And you're putting that energy out into it because you're putting that trust, and because you're doing that, and because you are allowing your vulnerability and you're asking. And humans have that altruistic tendency. And I would say 95% of the time you would be safe in doing that. And then there's the asshole who's going to take advantage. Or the asshole who's going to be conditioned to think that they did something and now you owe them in reciprocation, like we were talking about earlier, But that's what comes to mind for me about that.
I think that's a tough subject about like really feeling safe in the body and yeah, really trusting the other person, especially if there's trauma and other stuff involved. I don't know, this may be a little general, but I would say it all comes down to your safety within your body and your trusting. Then you can begin to open up to everyone else. But
Yeah. Because when I am in my body and trusting it, my body is telling me what to do. It is the barometer. It's telling me, no, not that way. Screw that person, or you just need to get out of here. You're right. Absolutely right.
But you've been in that situation, Sheila, where you had to trust somebody, like in your church or something, and
Yeah.
you know, had to look to some elder man as trusting it to help you, and then, did they or did they not come through? That's the question.
Oh yeah. There
Failed
was
you miserably, but
one person who came through for me, and he was shot down by people who were higher up in the church.
no,
And I was just like, okay, I got one male who actually fucking believes me, tried to do everything he could, even went higher up than anyone else had done. And I'm pretty sure he was also threatened if he didn't step out of this, he was going to lose his job. So again, all these like threats and things and stuff. So it is very hard for me, coming from this perspective where I'm most of this trauma is resolved. Yeah, I still have some anger issues that I need to work on. And I'm recognizing that there are good men that deserve to be like pulled forward into the light and be recognized and honored for who they are, because this is what is needed. Authentic men who are willing and able to understand themselves and their emotions, just like women are trying to do. But we just want both people to, have an equal footing.
yeah.
Yeah, equal footing, exactly. So Roman, thanks for stepping out into the, spotlight so that we could highlight you.
Thanks, guys, for the opportunity.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's been great hearing your perspective.
Thanks. Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, just I don't know, maybe like to sum it up or just to encourage people out there. So okay. Talk, communicate, don't be afraid of your feelings. Like they're okay, they're perfect the way they are. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, both. And I would say the key message here for us as men, really, well, get away from pornography, discover yourself first, and really connect with your emotions and connect with your feelings. It won't make you any less of a guy. On the contrary, it will make you more masculine, and it will contribute to better relationships, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's so helpful
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
to know.
Yes.
So even as women, we can help support.